Hey y'all, today I'm going to be planting some Paperwhites and an Amaryllis. Now I know what you're thinking. It's January, Amanda. Everybody's already done this. I know. Sometimes I can't get things done at the proper times. A lot of times people prepare these prior to Christmas so that you have them for the Christmas holidays. I rarely get to my Paperwhites and Amaryllis during the holidays. It's typically in January for me, which is great because that's the time of the year where I really need something fresh and growing and vibrant in my house, and this is an excellent time to do that. I actually ended up picking up these bulbs back in December. You can still order some online and stuff, so it's no problem at all, but I'm excited to get started with them today. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know when my latest videos are up. And remember, every time you follow, every time you share, and every time you comment on YouTube, it helps show the company YouTube that you want to see more of my videos, and it helps me grow my channel. Let's get started. Okay, so I bought my Paperwhites from big box locations. So I ended up getting this particular one. It's called Ziva. It's the particular variety. Narcissus is the name for Paperwhite. So it's a cousin of the daffodil family. And then this one does not have the particular, this bunch does not have the particular variety on here. So I got one bunch, $13 for 10 of the bulbs. And then these, the Ziva ones, I think they were $5, oh no, sorry, $6.98 for 4 bulbs. These were actually set up to be Christmas presents. They had them packaged like that, so that's kind of cool. And then I did pick up one Amaryllis bulb. I did a whole bunch of Amaryllis last year, and so this year I wasn't as excited about it as I typically would be. So I don't know, maybe I'll be more excited next year. But I got one bulb and it was on sale for $3. I went with a white Amaryllis because I'm doing all of the white Paperwhites, and so I thought that would look really, really good together. Okay, let's talk about vessels. So I picked out a number of vessels. These are just all my bud vases that I use for flowers. I store them in here. But I like this long metal vessel. I think is pretty cool. I think I could fit pretty much all of the Paperwhites in here and the Amaryllis all in one design. And I think that that would be really cool. I love the brass look, and it goes really, really well with my house. Another option is this vintage planter. It's a Hager vintage planter for those of you who are familiar with that maker. It has a splatter glaze effect. It's a beautiful piece that I got from an antique store, and I love it. I think I could pretty much get everything in here. It'd be a really tight fit, but that would be okay too. And then I think I would have to do the Amaryllis separate, but I could do all Paperwhites in here, and I think that that would look really cool. And I like the splatter effect as well. And the last one I have is this copper container that I got thrifting. It's smaller, but I kind of thought about maybe I would put the Amaryllis in here and a few Paperwhites. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do the Amaryllis and a few Paperwhites, and then I'm going to do this additional container and put all the rest of the Paperwhites in it as well. They kind of complement each other. I can have them in different locations, or I can cluster them all together, these two together, to kind of create a decorative setup in my house. I think that that would look really good. So I think I'm going to go with these two, and I'm going to save the Hager pottery for another time. Other things you're going to need are an indoor potting soil. This one just happens to be Miracle Grow. This is not particularly a brand that I suggest. It just happened to be what I had available, and I was using what was in my house. And I'm going to use a decorative topping of river rocks just to kind of clean it up. The soil is fine, but I don't know, it looks a little messy when it's inside, so I like to kind of top layer it, top dress it with something. And so I thought these river rocks were a really natural look that I thought would contrast really well with the brass. So I think that's going to look really good. Depending on what container you select, you're gonna want to start by lining the inside of your container. I'm actually using some trash bags that I bought that were the wrong size for my trash can, and so it works really well to kind of put them in here. And this saves you from any kind of damage on your furniture, depending on when you're utilizing this. These are not going to be heavily watered. They're going to be a little bit of water at a time, but I think that this will work really good. I'm actually going to line this one with 2 just to make sure that I get really good coverage. And then I will fill it with about halfway with soil. Paperwhites like to stick partway out of the container, or excuse me, out of the soil. And so I'm maybe going to put about 2 inches in here. All right, so that one is lined. I think I'm just going to go ahead and flip the extra, the extra of the trash bag into the container. And then I'm going to do the same with this other container. This one's copper. So 1 copper, 1 brass. Can you believe I got these thrifting? I don't know if they still have the prices on them. Guys, I love thrifting. You can get so many beautiful, expensive items for not much. Okay, so I got both of these pots lined, and that way when I water, the drainage won't go out onto my furniture. The next step is we need to go ahead and pre-moisten the soil. Now, a lot of y'all might be like, Amanda, why are you pre-moistening the soil? Why don't you just put the soil in and then work from there? Well, when I first start Paperwhites, I'm going to be really careful that I'm not getting like overly saturating them with water. And when you're pouring into dry soil, a lot of times the water can pool or gather in particular areas. So I like to start with a pre-moistened soil that I put across the entire pot and then plant my Paperwhites in it. I found that it keeps the bulbs from rotting and it kind of creates a more consistent soil to water ratio throughout the entire design. Now I don't want it to be overly wet, so I'm just going to add a little bit at a time. Mix with my hands. When I took a break over the holidays, my fingernails grew out a lot, and I found that I find it hard to garden with long fingernails. I think it's because the soil gets stuck under the fingernails, and it drives me a little bonkers. Okay, so we just want the soil to kind of clump together. We don't want it to be dripping with moisture. Okay, I think that'll work. So let's start with 1 container at a time. And I'm going to be sure to keep it inside my trash bag liner. I like Paperwhites because of the time of the year that they show up, but also I feel like you can plant them in so many different containers in so many different ways and kind of dress them different ways and get really different looks between all of them, which I think is kind of fun. So I think you can have like a really traditional house and these look beautiful. I think you can have a vintage house and these look beautiful. I think you can have, you know, a modern aesthetic and have these in beautiful glass containers and it would look gorgeous. So I think they're really versatile in the decorating world, which is kind of fun when you think about it. Okay, so we got this one lined with soil. Let me go ahead and do the copper one. Let's stand up for this one. Remember, my soil is slightly damp, and I like to start with a slightly damp soil. Okay, awesome. All right, let me clean up my hands real quick. Okay, so let's start with the copper pot. We're gonna start with the amaryllis bulb. Remember, in this one, I'm gonna do the amaryllis and I'm going to do, oh no. It already tried to bloom in the box, y'all. Okay. Well, What do y'all think? Should I cut this one off and see if we can get more out of it? I should have opened it up and looked at it. Okay, so I'm not going to plant the amaryllis. The bulb feels a little mushy. It tried to bloom inside the box. Fail on my part. It happens, y'all. Hey, I'm glad I only spent $3 on it. Gardeners fail all the time. I'm one of them. Okay, so then what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to switch back to this particular brass container, and I'm going to work in the bulbs that we were just talking about. This particular variety is called Ziva Paperwhite, and I don't know what the other variety is. These bulbs look really, really good. There's 4 in this container. You want to squeeze every bulb and see if they feel soft or mushy or anything like that. And then what you want to do with Paperwhite bulbs is you kind of just want to, for this one, I'm just going to give them a little tap to push them down into the surface. I'm going to spread these out, this container. So I'm literally just putting about maybe 1/3 of the bulb into the soil. The rest of the bulb is going to be covered up by a portion of the rock, all right? That's why I'm not pushing these really far down, because I know that I'm also going to be top dressing with these. You could also top dress with something like, glass gems, seashells, of course, moss looks good. Anything along those lines would be really fun. I'm going to mix in some of these other bulbs from the big box store. I don't know this particular variety. They do look a little bit more petite, but I think that's kind of fun to work in to the design. Oh, this one has like a whole bunch of little ones. It's fun. Paperwhites like to be tightly packed, so don't feel like you're overdoing it. They like to have several in each. Oh, these are fun. A lot of these have multiple stems coming off the same bulb. I'm going to remove the loose paper. Okay, so I might try to just do all of them. That's what I'm thinking, y'all. I think I'm going to put all of them in the same container. I know y'all are probably like, whoa, that's a lot, Amanda. It is a lot, but it's going to look so good, y'all. That's okay. It's going to look so good. Okay. Buffy, stop. Buffy, stop. She is rolling around over there, you guys. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use like a fork to push the trash bag down around the edges, and then I'm going to come back and top dress this with the stones or the rocks. So I'm just using a fork just to try to tuck this around the edges, tuck it down a little bit. And it's okay if you're seeing it like on top of the soil. Remember, we're going to top dress this with rocks, so it's going to disappear. Okay. So I just got these rocks from a big box store. You can use rocks that you have in your garden. You can order some online. There's a lot of wide varieties of them. Twist, don't pull. So what I'm going to do is I'm really just going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to just start filling in with these beautiful rocks. I kind of love like the warm terracotta pinkish tones in these rocks. That's why I actually chose this variety, because I just think it looks so pretty and different than like the typical like gray, black, or white. Although like if you were doing like a really modern aesthetic, you could do glass with like black stones, would be absolutely beautiful. This is looking good, you guys. Also, there's something very therapeutic about putting these rocks in. I'm kind of digging it. And these rocks will go a long way to secure these Paperwhites in place and hold them all in place, which I think will just look so beautiful. Okay, let me do a quick cleanup and then let's talk about our final product. Okay, here we have with the final product. I really like the brass container. I've got a whole lot of the Paperwhites in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, which is awesome. Some of them are multiple bulbs all packed together, so that's kind of fun and interesting. I really like the color of the rock. I like this warm terracotta color. I think it goes really well with my decor. And also I think it adds a little bit of warmth that I need at this time of the year. So let's talk through our steps one more time. We lined the container with a trash bag to make sure it didn't leak on any of our furniture. We applied about 2 inches of pre-moistened indoor potting soil across the bottom. We put each of the bulbs in place, making sure that the green portion is pointing up and the bottom portion, the rounded portion of the bulb, is pointing down. And then we backfilled it all with the rocks. We want to make sure that the bulbs are only about 1/3, no more than halfway into the soil, and then adding the rocks holds them all in place. Now, watering next. What I do with watering is I like to use a syringe when I'm watering Paperwhite. So let me show you why. Let me find my syringe. And I apologize if I'm moving a little stiff. I hurt my neck because I'm old and I just do that. So this is the syringe I like to use. I use this for succulent designs. I use this for houseplants, and I like to use this for situations like this with the Paperwhite bulbs. I can suck up the water out of a container, and then I can very precisely put water in different areas. I want to make sure that I don't get water into the layers of the bulb. That will absolutely rot the bulb very quickly. So we want to make sure that we stay just on the rock portions when we are watering this. You do not have to water this very often at all. The initial pre-soak of the soil, moistening the soil, you're good for several days, and then you can maybe water and check on it once a week. Now, my big #1 tip for growing short Paperwhites, all right? One of the biggest issues with Paperwhites is they'll grow 2 feet tall, and they'll fall over, and it's a hot mess and craziness, right? So to keep them short, you can utilize a solution of 1 part alcohol to 7 parts water. Now, alcohol, I typically stick to something like vodka, gin, something like that. And basically what you'll do is, maybe take a 1/4 cup of that and add in 7 more 1/4 cups of the water, mix it all together in a jug, and then use your syringe to water it. And the alcohol will stunt the growth of the Paperwhites, so it will keep the Paperwhites from getting 2 feet tall and keep them much shorter and much more manageable for your design. That's what I like to do. I think it's fun. I think it looks really good. And I like to keep a little bit more shorter of a look. Now, you can absolutely let your Paperwhites grow really, really tall. A lot of people will use kind of wire. They'll use all kinds of contraptions to kind of balance these as they get taller. You can also, as they get taller, you can draw them all together with a soft satin ribbon, which is really, really pretty, and that kind of helps them all kind of stand up together. And there are a lot of different ways. I'll put some photos up here so you can see the different ways that you can support your Paperwhites. But yeah, you can do a lot of different things with them. But if you don't want them to grow tall, then you can absolutely do the 1 part alcohol to 7 parts water solution, watering them, and that will stunt their growth. Do not do that first thing. All right, make sure they grow at least 2, if not 4 inches before you start doing that. If you stunt them too early, they'll all grow really, really tall, short on here, which actually makes me wonder, that would be an interesting experiment. We'll see, maybe I'll try it. Okay, but I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. Simple paper whites. They're so fun. They bring so much freshness and vibrancy and joy at this time of the year when it's cold and dark. Like, it's so overcast outside today. It just makes me, so sad looking. And so having things like this in my house, even when they're not blooming, this gives me hope and joy for the spring to come. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.